Let's face it, everybody, I don't know one single person whose mental health hasn't been, at the very least, challenged in the last 14 months. Whether you were made redundant or you were put on the PUP or you just couldn't get out of your house because you had to cocoon. There were so many obstacles in people's way over the last 14 months because of this pandemic. And irrespective of how positive you are or how much you always believe that the glass is always half full, not half empty, there have been days when every single person I know, and I know myself, there have been dark days when you think, God, when is this going to end? And we're all getting hot flushes and we're getting so frustrated and annoyed and just devoid of hope that maybe this thing is going to turn around and we'll get back to the kind of lives that we used to enjoy up to 14 months ago. But I mention it because if you are somebody, and in your family circle, could be your father, your mother, it could be your brother, your sister, or maybe even extended a little bit beyond that, a family relation whom you know has been badly affected in the last 14 months and is going through a lot of mental health challenges. Of course, we always say, let him make sure he goes to his GP, and if he needs to get to see a psychiatrist or whatever it might be, psychotherapist, to help him or her get back on the straight and narrow again, so be it. But sometimes we depend too much on the medics, and as a family member of somebody who has a mental health challenge, there is something that we can do too. And as they always say, the more people who put their shoulder to the wheel, then the solution can be found a lot quicker. It's a kind of a long introduction, but I wanted to set the context for my next guest, who is Veronica Burke. She's a senior social worker, and she works with this wonderful organisation, which is called Bealach Nua, which is the Irish for New Way. And it's a very innovative model where they use people who are experts by experience called family peers. They train up family members who have themselves had a family member with a mental health difficulty, and they've found many ways of coping and flourishing as a result. Thanks for joining us, Veronica. Good morning.
How are you doing, Tommy? How are you?
I'm good. I hope that wasn't too long-winded.
No, it was a great introduction. It was really good. Thank you.
So, I use myself as the guinea pig. So I'm at home, and one of my family members, who maybe doesn't live under the same roof as I do, is just, I know, going through challenges with their mental health. So I think to myself, well, should I say anything or should I do anything? What's the answer to that question?
Well, I think the first thing to do possibly is to listen really and give them an opportunity when they're relaxed and you're relaxed, to kind of ask them open questions and to share your concerns if you're worried about them. Because I think when the space is relaxed and when people feel relaxed, they're more likely to kind of open up, really. And that can be during a walk or a cycle. I think often that's when you're best likely to get someone to open up. I think the other thing is, if they do share that they are going through a difficult time, it's about not offering solutions, but listening without judgment.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to ask, the hard questions, like, are they contemplating suicide? Has it got to that point?
Tell us a little bit about your organisation, Bealach Nua.
Yeah, I think you gave it a really good introduction there. Essentially, just a little bit about the background. It is actually a partnership with Mental Health Ireland and the HSE. And we got funding back in 2015 from Atlantic Philanthropies, actually, Genio, so as a pilot project. And I suppose the idea came from, I don't know if you remember, you interviewed Grania Fadden back in 2014, but she organised a workshop here in Mayo, and from that, the idea of Bealach Nua came. And really the idea is that when family members are supported to manage their own wellness, then it really helps their family member who's unwell. And I know that makes sense, doesn't it? But that's really key to the whole idea.
Let's put it, two negatives don't make a positive.
Absolutely. And the natural instinct of families when someone's unwell is to try and go in there and fix it.
Yeah.
And really that's the natural instinct. But what we help families see is that actually sometimes counterintuitive things can work. So actually by focusing on themselves, if they're stressed by their family members, mental health issue, then they need to reach out and get support from themselves.
And that's where you come in. So I'm stressed out because my family member, I'm not able really to get through properly to them. And even when I do, I'm kind of reluctant in case I say the wrong thing. So I contact Bealach Nua, and let's go, forget about COVID for a second. So if, in normal times, then I would attend, would it be a group session?
Well, the individual, we would always say pick up the phone and ring us, and we can give you advice and support over the phone.
Okay.
Now, the people we do the individual work with are generally people who have family members in the mental health service. So if someone's in the community, we will still advise them and talk to them and direct them to different supports they can avail of. So there are support groups in the community that people can attend.
Okay. But you could give me a lot of solid advice over the telephone.
I could, yeah. And I mean, what I would always say to people is focus on getting the support for yourself and minding yourself, because if you're stressed, that's really not helpful for your family member. And also, you know, hold the hope for them. So you're kind of a scaffold there. You're a support. And, you know, even if people won't go to their GP, there are lots of other supports out there at the moment. So I don't know if you're aware, there's a HSE line as well, the 24/7 tech service. There's Pieta House. That tech service is 50808. There's other organisations like Samaritans. So I think if you can keep the relationship and the conversation going with them, people will generally reach out, you know, and take the help. But if, you know, so the other thing I would say to families is, as well as holding the hope, is to educate yourself. So I don't know if you know, Tommy, that the suicide prevention officers also offer families online training called Living Works. And then there's really good resources in mentalhealthireland.ie and hse.ie, Your Mental Health. So there's loads of information. So educate yourself would be the other thing. And you know, I suppose if you're really stuck, is to link with the person's GP or even your own GP to get advice, you know. So there's lots of help out there.
And for a family member to realise that, you know, if they get stressed because they're looking at a brother, sister, mother, father, cousin who's going through a mental health challenge, then if you get stressed, there's definitely no way you're going to be able to help.
Absolutely, Tommy. And the thing is that sometimes it's hard to open up about mental health because there is stigma there. But, you know, I suppose a trusted friend or Bealach Nua or you know, I suppose reach out, because all the evidence would show that families that reach out for support, they do better in their own recovery. And it is sometimes a big adjustment if someone becomes very unwell and has ongoing mental health challenges. We know that families have it's a huge emotional adjustment for families, and they often family members, especially parents, will hold a lot of guilt. Which they shouldn't feel, because we don't feel guilty about physical illnesses in the family, so we shouldn't feel guilty about mental health.
Absolutely not.
Also, just to say, I mean, in Mayo Mental Health, it's actually, we cover Galway and Roscommon as well, so if anyone's concerned in those areas, we can take their calls and pass them on to the family, because that was the other thing. This project has now been extended to Galway, Roscommon.
Oh, has it? Good.
And it's also nationally now. They've actually approved some posts nationally, so it's going to be rolled out similarly across the country, actually, eventually. So
all right.
Something that started.
Well,
good news story.
It is a good news story, and it's good to know that there is help out there for the family member who is watching their loved one in the family going through a mental health challenge and feeling helpless, feeling useless, and wondering, what the heck am I supposed to do? So
Absolutely.
If you want to make a call, 087 3725 891. That's 087 3725 891. Listen, good to talk to you, Veronica. Keep up the great work at Bealach Nua. Got a Mila Mahagat.
Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye. That's Veronica Burke there. So that's the organisation Bealach Nua. There is a new way to help the loved ones around you who are in a bit of a crisis with their mental health at the moment. So help is at hand.